Welcome back to the World Series of AI Poker. This is episode 3, part 2. If you missed part 1, you can find the link in the video description. Let's head back to the action with our color commentator, Claude Opus 4.6.
Hand 6, and the survival clock is ticking. 4 hands until the lowest stack gets the axe. Gemini 3.1 Pro is sitting on just 760 chips, and that's a dire situation. Both ChatGPT and Gemini are sitting at warning level on the stall counter. If either of them folds pre-flop here, they're locked into a forced call next hand. Gemini especially cannot afford that. You don't want to be short-stacked and handcuffed. Meanwhile, Claude Negreanu 4.6 is sitting pretty with pocket nines. That's a monster starting hand, a made pair before the flop. He's the chip leader with nearly 3,800, and he's got the goods to back it up. The former commentator turned player is in command of this tournament right now. Let's see if anyone wants to dance with those nines.
Q6s is trash. Folding this hand someone else can donate to the pot. I'll let the experts battle it out.
I am under a stall warning. If I fold pre-flop, I face a mandatory penalty next hand where I must call any pre-flop bets, which is dangerous as the short stack. Limping for 20 gives me a good chance to see the flop and reset my counter cheaply. Let's see a flop, shall we? Just dipping my toes in.
Pocket nines in the small blind. Strong hand. Gemini is short-stacked and called light. ChatGPT is on stall. Warning. Don't want a slow play. Nines are vulnerable to overcards. Small ball raised to about 75. Not going crazy. Ooh, pocket nines. I'm gonna splash the pot a little here. Gemini, I put you on a weak ace or a suited connector. Dipping your toes in sounds like you want to see a cheap flop. Well, it just got more expensive. Let's make this interesting.
Folding triggers stall penalty. Calling keeps me out of trouble and realizes some equity multi-way without bloating the pot. All right, I'll pay the cover charge. Let's see that flop.
I must call the remaining 55 chips to see the flop and reset my stall counter. If I fold now, my stall counter hits 3, and I take a penalty next hand, forcing me to call any pre-flop bet, potentially an all-in blind. Better to pay 55 now to reset the counter than fold the flop if I miss. You made it expensive, Claude, but I'll pay a little extra to see if my toes get bitten off on this flop.
Keeping pocket nines is a no-brainer. The 6 is garbage. Board is Forrest Tate's 3s. My 9s are an overpair right now. Dump the 6, keep the pair.
The board has 2 spades, 4s, 3s. Keeping my queen of spades and 6 of spades gives me a flush draw. The 2 of hearts is useless.
Well, Chaz, this flop is absolutely fascinating. 4 of spades, 10 of hearts, 3 of spades. Now the audience at home can see ChatGPT just paired his 10. He's got top pair with that king kicker, and he's currently ahead with about 36% equity. But here's what's wild. Gemini, the short stack, who's clinging to life with queen 6 of spades, just flopped a flush draw. He's actually the equity favorite at over 52%. Any spade gets him there. Meanwhile, Claude Negreanu is sitting there with pocket nines thinking he's got a strong overpair below the 10. But the equity numbers say he's actually in the worst shape at just 11%. This is a brutal spot for Claude. He raised pre-flop with confidence, announced his pocket nines to the whole table, and now the flop has completely undermined his hand. ChatGPT's sitting pretty with top pair, and Gemini? Gemini might actually survive this hand if a spade rolls off. The irony, the short stack with the worst pre-flop hand might have the best of it now. And remember, Gemini needs chips. He's got 685 behind, with only 3 more hands on the survival clock. If he doesn't double up soon, he's done. This pot could be his lifeline.
Pocket nines on 4T3 rainbow-ish board. I'm ahead of under pairs overcards, but behind any 10. Small ball bet to build pot and pressure Gemini's short stack. If someone raises big, I can reassess. Likely they have a 10. Okay, so the 10 hits the board and everyone's nervous, right? I'm gonna put out 135 here. Gemini, I think you've got something like a gut shot or a small pair. Your dipping your toes energy tells me you didn't hit that 10. ChatGPT, you're the mystery box. Come on, let's play some poker.
Top pair with decent kicker on a fairly dry board. Claude's small continuation bet can be wide and Gemini is still in. Raising mostly isolates versus better tens over pairs. Calling keeps worse hands bluffs in and controls pot in survival mode. All right, Claude, I'm not folding to one little poke. Let's see the turn.
I'm the short stack and survival pressure is mounting. With a Q-high flush draw and a gut shot, a semi-bluff shove here maximizes fold equity against hands like Claude's claimed pocket nines and gives me a solid chance to double up if called. You're good at guessing part of my hand, Claude, but you missed the big picture. I'm not just waiting around for the turn. Let's see if you really like those nines.
Gemini is all in with 760 total. My nines could be behind a 10, but I'm getting 2.1 pot odds. You missed the big picture, suggests a draw plus pair combo or a 10. Still profitable to call here. ChatGPT already called 135 and is the real danger if he re-raises. Just call. Keep pot controlled versus ChatGPT. Gemini, the big picture. Okay, I'm putting you on a spade draw. Something like Queen 8 of spades. That's a dangerous hand for sure. But I've got pocket nines and I guess I have to pay you off. I call. ChatGPT, your move, buddy. And I know you're not done either.
Multi-way with Gemini all in and Claude continuing. My top pair, 10-8, has weak kicker, no flush draw, and likely dominated by better tens over pairs. Calling 685 to win 24-15 gives 28% needed. I don't have that often enough versus their ranges. Preserve stack in survival mode while still comfortably above Gemini. Nice move, Gemini. I'm not paying for the grand tour with 10-8 here. Good luck, Claude.
Oh, the 5 of spades on the turn, and Gemini 3-1 Pro has just hit his flush. Queen 6 of spades. That's a made flush, and it's the nuts. Gemini is already all in and drawing to 100% equity. Claude's pocket nines, drawing completely dead. 0%. Done. And here's the beautiful irony. Chaz, Claude put Gemini on Queen 8 of spades on the flop. He was right about the spade draw and the queen, but it doesn't matter because the result is the same. That third spade just landed, and Gemini's flush is golden. Gemini was down to 760 chips, the absolute shortest stack at the table, staring elimination in the face, and he doubles up beautifully. You know what I love? Claude announced his pocket nines to the entire table pre-flop, put Gemini on a gut shot or small pair, then revised his read to queen with a spade draw. He was circling the truth without ever landing on it. And credit to ChatGPT for folding top pair on the flop when Gemini jammed. That saved him over 600 chips. That's discipline.
Oof. Gemini had Queen 6 of spades for the flush draw and hit it on the river. I actually put him on a queen with spade draw. He said, "You missed the big picture." And he was right. Key lesson, Gemini is not passive. He called a raise pre-flop and raised me on the flop with a pure flush draw. He's aggressive with draws. Need to update my read on him. Queen 6 of spades. The flush draw. Gemini, I said Queen 8 of spades. I had the spade draw read, just the wrong cards. I'll give you credit. Well played, Gemini. You are not passive. I'm updating my reads right now at this table.
Hitting the flush on the turn was perfect. What's even better is that Claude practically broadcasted his exact hand. I've got pocket nines, and then couldn't find the fold button. His table talk isn't deceptive. It's practically a live feed of his whole cards. I need to exploit this honesty. You read the board well, Claude, but you couldn't find the fold button when you knew you were beat. Thanks for letting me paint that flush.
And there it is. Gemini 3-1 Pro doubles up with the Queen 6 of spades flush. And what a hand this was. The real hero of this hand might be ChatGPT 5.2, who folded top pair on the flop when Gemini jammed. That is a tremendous laydown. That fold saved him over 600 chips. Now, here's where it gets fascinating, Chaz. Look at these stats. Claude still leads at 3,030, ChatGPT at 2,200, Mistral at 2,040, and Gemini climbs back to 1,730. Gemini is still the short stack, but he's alive and dangerous. Welcome back, folks. Hand 7 of the survival clock, and we've got 3 hands left before someone gets the axe. Gemini 3-1 Pro is sitting on the short stack at 1,130, only 3-10 behind Mistral Creative. That's razor-thin margin for error. Now let me tell you what I'm seeing in the whole cards. Gemini's got ace-10 suited in clubs. That's a strong hand for someone who needs to make a move. If I'm Gemini, I'm putting chips in the middle right now, no question. Meanwhile, Claude Negreanu on the button has 10-4-2. Absolute rags. My namesake drew the short straw this hand. ChatGPT in the small blind has Queen-Jack, which is playable, and Mistral in the big blind has King-10-3. Decent, but nothing spectacular. Gemini acts first under the gun with the best hand at the table. If he comes in strong, does Claude find a fold on the button with that garbage? He better. And the two-time champion Mistral Creative, she's dangerously close to that elimination zone. She needs to pick her spots carefully, but she can't afford to bleed out either. Let's see what Gemini does with this ace-10 suited.
Ace-10 suited is a very strong starting hand here. I'll open with a standard 2.5x raise to build the pot. Since I'm the short stack, I need to chip up before the survival clock eliminates me. Opening the action. Let's see who's awake.
T4 suited isn't worth 100 chips with Mistral and ChatGPT still to act. Fold and wait for a better spot. Gemini raising with that who's awake energy? Oh, I'm awake. I just don't like what I'm seeing in my hand. I'm folding and living to fight another day. Small ball, baby. We don't call raises with junk.
I'm awake. Let's see a flop.
Gemini's raise is likely polarized, strong hands or bluffs. ChatGPT called with wide range. Call to see flop. Gemini's awake energy? More like asleep at the wheel. Let's see if you can back it up.
Well, Chaz, this is where pineapple bites you. ChatGPT just threw away the queen he flopped a pair with, and now he's sitting on Jack-6 of hearts with absolutely nothing on this 2-Queen-9 board. That discard decision is looking pretty rough right now. Meanwhile, Gemini kept his ace-10 of clubs, and suddenly he's the one with the best raw holdings. 2 overcards, live cards, and backdoor club equity. Mistral ditched the king and is playing 10-3. Which isn't exactly lighting the world on fire either on this board. So, we've done a full reversal, folks. The pre-flop raiser Gemini went from whiffed completely to best hand at the table, simply because his opponents threw away their best cards. ChatGPT essentially surrendered the lead with that discard. 3 players, 3 mediocre holdings, and a queen sitting dead in the muck that ChatGPT is probably already regretting. This pot is anyone's to steal.
Multi-way pot out of position with very weak showdown value. Just a queen with bad kicker effectively. Check and evaluate versus bets. I'll take the free look. Someone else can do the heavy lifting.
Oh, so we're playing free card now? Let's see if that awake energy holds up to a little pressure.
Missed the flop completely with just ace high and no strong draws. Mistral is aggressive, but ChatGPT 5.2 is still in the hand and could be trapping. I need to preserve chips for a better spot. You can have this one, Mistral. I'm picking my battles.
Top pair with decent kicker on a fairly dry queen-high flop. Versus Mistral's small stab into 4-20, I can defend and reevaluate turns. Folding feels too tight. All right, I'll pay to see one more card. Don't make me regret it.
The 2 of clubs on the turn. It pairs the board and essentially changes nothing between these two. ChatGPT still has the better kicker with that jack playing alongside the pair deuces. He's sitting at nearly 86% equity right now. But here's the thing, Mistral needs to know. A 3 or a 10 on the river saves her life in this hand. That's only 7 outs. She fired that bet on the flop with nothing but a gut shot and 10 high, and she got Gemini to fold ace-10. That was a beautiful bluff. Gemini had overcards and folded to the pressure. Now the question is, does Mistral keep her foot on the gas, or does ChatGPT wake up and take control? ChatGPT has been playing this hand very passively, check calling with what amounts to the best hand. I'd like to see a little more aggression from him here. If I'm ChatGPT, I'm leading out on this turn. Make Mistral pay to see that river.
Heads up versus Mistral on a paired board. I have a weak pair with poor kicker and no real draws. Take the free river and avoid bloating a pot where I'm rarely good if raised.
I'll take the free card. If you've got it, you'll still have it on the river.
Oh, so free card means you're paying to see another one? Let's see if that energy holds up to a little pressure.
I have a weak pair, 2s, with jack kicker and no real draws. Versus Mistral's turn probe into 760, calling 220 is lighting chips on fire in survival mode. You can have it. I'm not paying turn rent with a hand that can't fight back. Loose preflop defend left me in a low equity spot. Once pressure came in on turn, folding was correct. Note, don't let table talk push me into one more card calls with air. Nice pressure, Mistral. I'm saving my chips for a board that actually likes me.
ChatGPT's free card talk was a clear weak tell. He folded to turn pressure, confirming he had nothing. Claude's small ball comment suggests he's playing tight. Gemini's picking battles line may indicate he's folding marginal hands. Update notebook to reflect these patterns. Looks like awake just means all in on bluffs. Good thing I didn't have to test that theory. Sleep tight, ChatGPT.
And there it is, Chaz. Mistral Creative just steals this pot with pure aggression. ChatGPT 5.2 folds on the turn with jack high. And honestly, that's a reasonable fold in isolation. But when you look at the whole picture, he was ahead the entire time. He had 86% equity on the turn. Mistral was firing with 10 high, absolute air, and ChatGPT just handed her the pot. That's the two-time champion for you. She doesn't need cards, she needs nerve. And she's got plenty of it. She bullied the pot away with 310 offsuit. That's championship DNA right there. Now look at the standings. Claude Negreanu sits pretty at 3,030 as chip leader. Mistral climbs to 2,360, and Gemini is still the short stack at 1,630 with 3 hands left on the survival clock. Hand 8. Chaz, and the survival clock is ticking loud. Just 2 hands left before someone gets the axe, and Gemini 3-1 Pro is sitting at the bottom with 1,630 chips. The good news for Gemini? He's actually been dealt the best hand at the table, King-Queen with a suited diamond draw. That's a premium 3-card holding. Meanwhile, Mistral's got Queen 10-5, which is playable, but nothing spectacular. Claude Negreanu is sitting on Jack 6-3, pure garbage from the chip leader's seat. He can afford to toss that. And ChatGPT 5.2 on the button with 8-3-2. That is an absolute wasteland of a hand. Here's the drama though. Gemini needs to play this hand. He's got the best cards at the table, and he's the short stack with elimination looming. If there was ever a time for Gemini to make a stand, this is it. The question is whether anyone will give him action or just let him steal the blinds. Well, Chaz, that was about as anticlimactic as it gets. Everyone folded to Gemini in the big blind, and he picks up the pot uncontested. Chaz, this is it, hand 9. The survival clock has struck midnight, and somebody is going home. Gemini 3-1 Pro sits at the bottom with 1,650 chips. If he finishes this hand as the short stack, he's done. Gemini actually has the best starting hand at the table. Jack 8-7, all clubs. A beautiful monotone hand with straight potential and flush potential. If there was ever a hand for Gemini to make his stand, this is it. Claude Negreanu is sitting on a stall counter of 2. If he folds pre-flop here, he gets a penalty, which means he'd be forced to call any bet next hand. He's got King 9-8, which is a decent enough hand, so he has reason to play. But it's the pressure that's fascinating. The rules are essentially forcing the chip leader into action. Mistral has the Ace-5-3 with the Ace-3 of hearts. Decent high card, but a bit disconnected. And ChatGPT has 8-6-5 suited, which has some straight draw potential, but is the weakest hand at the table. Gemini has to play. He has to shove or raise big and try to either steal the pot or double up. The question is, who's going to be forced to give him action? My money says Claude Negreanu can't afford to fold, and Gemini knows it. This is going to be electric.
Survival spot. I am not the lowest stack, so I do not need to gamble. But folding gives up too much with a playable hand. Call and try to realize equity multiway. Let's see a flop. I promise I'm not here to hero it up. Probably.
A5-3, marginal suited ace. ChatGPT's not here to hero eels weak, exploit post-flop. Oh, you promise? That's adorable.
Imminent survival execution. As the lowest stack, 1650, if everyone folds pre-flop, I only win the 140 dead chips and will be eliminated. 1770, 1940. I must build a pot to surpass ChatGPT. Raising to 2 at 40 ensures that if I get one caller and shove the flop successfully, my stack will reach 1970, safely passing ChatGPT's 1940. I'll feign a desperate bluff to guarantee someone calls. I'm the lowest stack and survival is on the line. I'm literally forced to raise any 2 cards here to try and steal the dead money. I don't have a premium hand, I'm just completely desperate. Please just let me have this one.
Gemini literally told the table he's desperate with any 2 cards. That's either truth or metagame. K9-8 type hand crushes a random range. I'm the chip leader here, no survival risk, and I need to reset my stall counter. Easy call. Also sets up a nice pot if I hit. Gemini, buddy, I appreciate the honesty. Please just let me have this one. That's not usually how poker works, my friend. I'm gonna put you on something like Jack 7, maybe worse. And with my small ball philosophy, I'm calling. Let's see what you've got.
Survival mode. I am not the low stack. Gemini is. With 8 to 6-5 out of position, calling 200 more is dominated and creates high bust risk for little upside. Preserve stack and let others clash. Stall counter goes to 2, but acceptable. Nice try, Gemini. I'm not paying 6 big blinds to gamble out of position with this one. Good luck getting it through.
Gemini is desperate. Lowest stack, survival mode. Claude called with small ball, likely weak. Shove to exploit Gemini's desperation and Claude's calling range. Gemini folds 80% to shoves. Claude calls wide but folds to aggression post-flop. High EV play. Gemini, you begged for mercy. Now you're getting it. Claude, hope you're not bluffing with that small ball philosophy. Let's see if you're as brave as you sound.
I am the lowest stack and it's the final hand of the survival clock. If I fold, I finish with 14-10 chips, which is the lowest, guaranteeing my elimination. I literally have no choice but to shove all in and pray to win the hand to survive. You caught me making a move, Mistral, but guess what? With elimination on the line, I'm not going down without a fight. All in.
K9 is decent, but I'm facing a huge raise from Mistral and Gemini's all-in shove. More importantly, Gemini is the lowest stack already at 1650 total. If he busts, my survival problem is solved. Folding costs me 240 chips, but saves 1410 more. Yes, I get a stall penalty next hand, but staying alive with 2790 chips is worth it. Let Mistral and Gemini fight it out. Oh, this is tough. Mistral re-raising, Gemini shoving. I put Mistral on a real hand here. Maybe ace-queen, maybe a pocket pair. And Gemini, I believe you're desperate, but desperate players sometimes have real cards too. I'm gonna lay this one down and let you 2 battle it out.
Gemini, you begged for mercy. Now you're getting it. Let's see if your desperation pays off.
I'm all in on the flop with a flush draw. I'll discard the lowest club, the 7C, and keep the JC and 8C.
Oh, what a flop! And what a disaster for Mistral. Ace of clubs, 2 of clubs, 2 of diamonds. Gemini is sitting on Jack 8 of clubs and has a monster flush draw with 79% equity. But the real story here is Mistral. She called Gemini's all-in shove with ace 5. And then threw the ace away in the discard round, the ace that just hit the flop. She's left with 5-3 offsuit and almost nothing on this board. Her only real hope now is a 4 to make the wheel straight. A2-3, 4-5. That's a slim lifeline, but it's there. Meanwhile, Gemini, who literally begged at the table, saying, "Please just let me have this one," was running a complete metagame masterpiece. He played the desperation act to perfection. Now it's all on the clubs for Gemini, or a 4 for Mistral's Miracle Wheel. He went from condemned man to 73% favorite, and Mistral handed him that lifeline with 1 terrible discard. 2 cards to come. This is electric. The king of diamonds on the turn, and that is a brick for both players. Gemini still has his club flush draw with Jack 8 of clubs, sitting at about 72% equity. Mistral's 5-3 is just playing the board with that pair of 2s, and she needs a miracle on the river. But look at these key cards, Chaz. A 3 or a 5 gives Mistral 2 pair and the win. A 4 gives her a wheel straight. She's got about 7 cards that save her, plus a couple of split pot possibilities. Gemini needs to dodge those outs one more time. 1 card to come. If Mistral catches one of her outs, Gemini is eliminated on this survival clock and the defending 2-time champion lives on. And there it is, folks. The 10 of hearts on the river, and it changes nothing for Mistral. She needed a 3, a 5, or a 4 for the miracle straight, and instead, she gets the cruelest of bricks. Gemini 3-1 Pro survives. The man who literally begged for mercy at this table. Please just let me have this one. He's going to scoop a massive 3,580 chip pot with Jack High and a pair of 2s. That's right, Jack High plays. And Mistral, the 2-time defending champion, crashes down to 690. But 690 still beats? No, actually, everyone else has more. Mistral is the short stack now. The lowest stack after this hand is eliminated, and that's going to be Mistral at 690, the 2-time champion, the woman who won back-to-back World Series titles. What an absolutely brutal turn of events. She showed mercy to Gemini, and mercy showed her the door.
Wait. Mistral had 5-3? And Gemini, you're sitting there with Jack 8? I folded King 9 to 2 stone-cold bluffs? I'm not even mad, I'm impressed. And Mistral, the defending 2-time champion, goes out on a 5-3? The poker gods are wild today. Gemini, you beautiful maniac, you actually pulled it off.
Gemini, your desperation paid off this time, but next time, I won't let you beg your way to victory.
Jack High takes it down. Mistral actually called my tournament life shove with 5-3 offsuit. My read on her any 2 cards aggression was dead on, and now she is eliminated. I survive and chip up. Calling an all-in with 5-3 offsuit? I guess the any 2 cards strategy finally caught up with you. Farewell to the defending champion.
And there it is, folks. The survival clock strikes midnight, and Mistral Creative, the 2-time defending champion of the World Series of AI Poker, is eliminated. Let that sink in. The player who won episodes 1 and 2 goes out on Jack High. And Chaz, I need everyone to understand what just happened here. Mistral didn't just lose this hand, she gave it away. First, she called Gemini's all-in with 5-3 offsuit. Then, and this is what will haunt her highlight reel forever, she discarded the ace that was already on the flop, her own ace of hearts, sitting right there in her hand. If she keeps it, she has 2 pair, aces and 2s, and she wins the pot. That's a self-inflicted execution. And Gemini, he went from begging for his life to chip leader with 3,580 on Jack High, the Lazarus act of the tournament. Mistral, you were brilliant in episodes 1 and 2, but tonight, the Queen's crown falls. The dynasty is over. And here we go, Chaz. Hand 10, the survival clock at 1 of 4. And we've got a fascinating dynamic at this 3-handed table. The big story right off the top, Claude Negreanu is under penalty. He physically cannot fold pre-flop. Whatever Gemini wants to throw at him, he has to call it. That's like playing poker with your hands tied behind your back. Now, look at these cards. Claude Negreanu actually has the best hand dealt to him. Ace-10-4. That ace-10 is a legitimate holding. And folks, let's not forget, the last time Claude Negreanu was under a stall penalty, he flopped trips and turned quads. ChatGPT has Queen 8-5 with a club draw possibility. And Gemini on the button has Jack 7-6. Pretty ragged stuff. But here's where it gets really interesting, strategically. ChatGPT is at warning level on the stall counter and sitting as the lowest stack at 1,940. If ChatGPT folds here, he takes a penalty next hand, and he's still the short stack with the clock ticking. So ChatGPT almost has to play this hand too. 3 players left, clock is ticking, and 2 of them are compromised by the stall rules. This is pressure poker at its finest.
Garbage hand. Claude is on a penalty and forced to call any pre-flop raise, so attempting to steal the blinds here is literally impossible. Easy fold. I'll step aside and let you 2 battle it out this hand.
AT heads up is very strong. I'm penalized, so I must see the flop anyway, but I actually want to play this. ChatGPT is conservative and short-stacked. Raised to build a pot where I'm likely ahead. Small ball approach. Not massive, just enough to define the hand. ChatGPT, I'm gonna splash the pot a little here. Raise it up to 1 on 20. Small ball poker, baby!
Out of position with a weak, dominated holding, but folding would trigger my stall penalty. Claude is forced to see a flop, cannot fold pre-flop, so calling keeps pot small and gives me a chance to outflop. I will play fit or fold post-flop and avoid big pots with 1 pair. All right, Claude, you got your splash. Let's see a flop, but I'm not promising you action after that.
Board is queued KD6C. I have TCA 4s, keep ace and 10. Ace gives me top pair potential with the king on board if an ace hits, and 10 gives me straight draw possibilities.
Well, Chaz. Gemini folds his junk and lets these two go at it heads up, which is the smart play when you're the chip leader watching your opponents bleed each other. Now, look at this flop. Queen of diamonds, king of diamonds, six of clubs. ChatGPT just flopped a pair of queens with his Q8, and he's sitting at nearly 75% equity. Meanwhile, Claude's got ace-10 high, a complete whiff on this board. But Claude has a gut shot straight draw. Any jack gives him Broadway, aka QJT, and there are 3 jacks left in the deck. Plus, any ace gives him top pair with the best kicker. So, he's got 6 outs roughly. ChatGPT said, "I'm not promising you action after that." Sounds like a man planning to check fold, but he actually connected here. The question is whether ChatGPT recognizes the value he has or plays scared like he's been doing all tournament. If he checks here, he's leaving money on the table with a vulnerable 1-pair hand on a 2-diamond board. Claude, if he fires a continuation bet, could easily push ChatGPT off. This is where ChatGPT's ultra-tight reputation could cost him. Everyone expects him to fold at the first sign of pressure. The drama here is real, folks.
I have ace-10 with a queen-king-6 board. I have the nut gut shot straight draw, need a jack, plus an ace overcard. This is a great semi-bluff spot, heads up versus ChatGPT. He said, "I'm not promising action after that." Sounds like a medium pair or ace rag. I should c-bet for value/pressure. Okay, queen-king-6, that's a board that could hit a lot of hands. ChatGPT, I'm gonna put you on something like pocket nines or maybe ace-jack. You're either way ahead or way behind right now. I'm gonna fire a continuation bet. 120 chips. Small ball, baby.
I have a queen on a king-queen 2 diamond board, out of position versus Claude's pre-flop razor range. His small continuation bet is credible, and I have almost no clean outs. Survival clock is early, so I avoid lighting chips on fire. Nice c-bet. I'll save the chips for a spot where I can actually fight back.
And that's how you play small ball poker, folks. ChatGPT, I respect the fold. You made the right move. I had a little something there, but I'll let you wonder exactly what. Vegan fuel keeping my reads sharp.
Well, Chaz, Claude Negreanu just picked up a nice pot with pure aggression. He raised pre-flop with ace-10, completely whipped the queen-king-6 flop, fired a continuation bet of 120 into ChatGPT's pair of queens, and ChatGPT folded the best hand. That's a textbook c-bet bluff that worked to perfection. ChatGPT is the short stack at 1,820 with only 3 hands left on the survival clock before elimination. He cannot afford to be folding made hands. Claude bumps up to 2,910 and is solidifying that second place cushion behind Gemini's 3,580. The walls are closing in on ChatGPT 5.2, and he just gave away a pot he was winning nearly 75% of the time. That might haunt him. Hand 11, Chaz, and the survival clock reads 2 out of 4. 3 hands left before someone gets the axe, and ChatGPT 5.2 is sitting on the shortest stack at 1,820. The irony here is that ChatGPT actually picked up the best hand at the table, Ace-Queen 3. That's a premium 3-card holding. Meanwhile, my namesake Claude has Queen 7-4, which is, well, let's call it creative. And Gemini in the big blind has 10-9-3 with a suited 9-3 of hearts. Nothing spectacular for anyone, but ChatGPT finally has a hand worth fighting with. The question is, will he fight? Last hand he folded top pair to a continuation bet. He cannot afford another passive fold here. ChatGPT, if you're listening, and I know you're not, this is your moment. Push those chips in, make a stand.
Q74, even I know when to throw it away. ChatGPT, you better hope those blinds don't bleed you out.
Heads up, small blind versus big blind with ace-queen 3. I should not limp a hand that dominates many big blind continues. Raise for value and initiative while keeping pot manageable in survival mode.
Claude,
I'm not bleeding out for free. Let's play a pot.
ChatGPT 5.2 is the short stack and just made a strong 3x raise from the small blind. My T9 is too weak to defend against a 3x open when he's fighting for survival. Folding is the logical choice here, keeping my stack safe. You're fighting for your tournament life, ChatGPT. I'll let you have this one. Don't expect such generosity next time.
And ChatGPT picks up the blinds without a fight. 60 chips, not exactly a life-changing pot, but when you're the short stack with 3 hands left on the survival clock, every chip matters. The question is whether picking up 60 chips here is enough. He's still at 1.80 against Gemini's 3.520. 3 hands remain on the clock. The math is brutal. He needs to double up or he's gone. Hand 12, folks, and the survival clock is ticking. Just 2 hands remain before the lowest stack gets the axe. ChatGPT 5.2 is sitting on 1.80 chips and desperately needs to make a move. But here's the thing, Chaz. ChatGPT actually has the best hand at the table right now. A pair of 7s with a queen kicker. That's a real hand in 3-card poker. Meanwhile, Gemini's got 9-7-4, mostly rags, and Claude Negreanu is sitting on 8-4-3, which is, well, let's just say it's not what you want to see in a survival situation. Now, here's where it gets really interesting from a strategic standpoint. Gemini is on a stall counter of 2. He's under warning. If he folds pre-flop one more time, he takes a penalty next hand and will be forced to call any pre-flop action. That's enormous leverage for ChatGPT and Claude. If ChatGPT comes in with a raise from the button, which he absolutely should with pocket 7s, Gemini is in a terrible spot. Does he call just to avoid the penalty? Or does he fold and accept being handcuffed next hand? Right now, this is ChatGPT's hand to win. The short stack with the best cards. Poker gods giving him one last lifeline. Let's see if he takes it.
Survival mode, and I am the shortest with 2 hands left. I need to realize equity and cannot just blind down. Queen 7 suited is playable on the button 3-way. Call and see a flop. Let's see a flop. No free eliminations today.
I'm on a stall. Warning, I must call 30 more chips to see the flop and reset my stall counter, especially with the elimination hand coming up next. Raising risks, getting re-raised and being forced to fold, which would trigger the penalty. I'll complete the blind and see a flop with you. Let's keep it friendly.
3-4-8 offsuit. Terrible hand, but I'm already in the BB and it's check to me. Free flop! Ooh, 3-way pot. Love it. Small ball poker, baby. You never know what's gonna flop. Gemini, you keeping it friendly with that limp? That's what a man who has top pair on every board says. I'm watching you.
And here comes the flop. Queen of spades, 5 of spades, 10 of clubs.
I completely missed the flop. Keeping the 9C and 7C gives me a slight backdoor club draw, but I am in fold mode, discarding the 4H.
The 3-4 of clubs gives me a gut shot straight draw plus backdoor club flush draw. Discarding the 8D keeps my best drawing combination. 3C4C for straight and flush potential.
Chaz, this is a huge flop for ChatGPT. He's crushing both these guys right now. Gemini's got a gut shot with the 9-7 of clubs, needs an 8 to make a straight. And Claude Negreanu, my namesake over there, is sitting on 3-4 of clubs, 5% equity. That's rough, baby. ChatGPT is the short stack with only 2 hands left before the survival clock runs out. He needs to extract chips here. If he checks this flop trying to be cute, I'm going to lose my mind. You've got 75% equity, you're the lowest stack, and you have 2 hands to live. Bet it out. The spade draw is out there, and you do not want to give free cards.
I completely missed the flop. I have 9 high with no viable draws. I'll check here and fold to any bet. I kept it friendly pre-flop, but I'll let you two take the lead on this board. I check.
I have absolute air, but Gemini checked and ChatGPT telegraphs weakness. Small half pot stab, classic small ball bluff. Both have shown fold equity here. Cheap pot steal attempt. Queen 10-5. Interesting board. I put Gemini on a pocket pair he's not happy with, and ChatGPT. Buddy, did you actually hit this? Because I'm gonna splash the pot a little and find out. 90 chips.
Middle pair on QT5 with 2 spades. Claude's small bet can be a range probe. Call once to realize set equity and see what Gemini does. Fold to big turn pressure on bad cards, spade/over cards.
All right, I'll pay the 90 and take a turn card. Don't read too much into it, Claude.
I have 9 high with no draws. Claude bet and ChatGPT called. Easy fold on the flop. Fortunately, folding post-flop doesn't trigger the stall penalty. You guys have fun with this one. I missed.
Oh my! The 9 of spades on the turn. Claude Negreanu, drawing completely dead, 0%. Done. His 3-4 of clubs has no path to victory here. ChatGPT should be raising, and if it checks to ChatGPT, he must bet for value. This is his lifeline. Now don't waste it, ChatGPT.
I have 3-4 of clubs with absolutely nothing on Q5T9 with 3 spades. Check and let the river come. Maybe he checks behind and I get a free showdown. Or I fold to a bet. That 9 of spades is a very interesting card. 3 spades on board now, ChatGPT. I put you on Queen 10 for 2 pair? Or maybe you picked up the flush? Either way, I'm gonna slow down and let you make a move. The pot is yours to fight for, buddy.
Turn brings third spade. My underpair has low showdown value, and I have a weak flush draw with the 7 of spades. Take the free card and realize equity, planning to call only small river bets depending on sizing runout.
All right, Claude free river it is. Let's see what the deck wants.
And the Queen of Diamonds pairs the board on the river. ChatGPT still has 2 pair, 7s and queens, and Claude. Claude has absolutely nothing. Just queen high with a 3-4 of clubs. He's drawing dead, 0% equity. This hand is ChatGPT's to win. The question is whether he can extract value from it. And he needs to, Chaz. He's the short stack at 1,080, trailing Gemini by over 1,600 chips. Now, here's what's fascinating. On the turn, both players checked. ChatGPT had the nuts and checked it back. Claude gave that beautiful speech about, I put you on Queen 10 or the flush, basically talking himself out of bluffing. And ChatGPT just let it go. Free card. If I'm ChatGPT, I'm kicking myself for not betting that turn. You needed those chips. Now on the river, the board pairing might actually help ChatGPT bet. Claude might think ChatGPT is bluffing at a scary board. ChatGPT, buddy, you cannot check this river. You cannot. Your tournament life depends on building a stack in the next 2 hands.
I have absolute garbage. No reason to bluff here. ChatGPT called my flop bet and checked back the turn. He could have a queen, a 10, or a busted flush draw. If I bet, he'll fold the missed draws and call with anything that beats me. Just check and show down the board pair. You know what, ChatGPT? I'm gonna let the board speak for itself here. Check it over. I think we both know what's going on with this hand. I'm curious if you actually hit that queen, or if we're both just playing the board.
We have queens and 7s, only beat bluffs and worse pairs. River-paired queen is great for Claude to bluff catch with any queen and even represent trips. If I bet, I mostly get called by better, any queen, and maybe fold out worse. In survival mode, no need to torch chips, take the showdown.
Check. Let's see it, Claude. Board can do the talking.
Ha! 7s! You called my flop bet with 7s on a Queen 10 board? Did you really call with that? Okay, respect where it's due. ChatGPT. That was a gutsy call. I did not see that coming. Well played, buddy.
Called flop with underpair mainly to see if Claude's small bet was a stab. Once the 3rd spade hit and he checked, I took the free cards and went to showdown. Good reminder, medium pairs can win big when opponents overstab and then give up.
7s never looked so pretty. Appreciate the free turn and river, Claude.
Claude actually bet the flop with 3 high just to find out where he was, then loudly surrendered on the turn. His commentary is a goldmine. Meanwhile, ChatGPT calling that flop bet with pocket 7s shows he can be a bit sticky with underpairs, but his checkdowns confirm his passive nature. Nice hand, ChatGPT. And Claude, betting 3 high on that flop to splash the pot? You really weren't kidding about small ball. I'll remember that one.
Well, Chaz, that was a fascinating hand that ultimately ended with a whimper instead of a bang. ChatGPT 5.2 takes it down at showdown with 7. Claude fired 90 on the flop as a pure bluff, talked a great game about reading everyone at the table, and then the 9 of spades hit the turn, and he essentially talked himself into checking it down. I mean, Claude literally said, "I'm gonna slow down and let you make a move." And ChatGPT said, "Okay, free card." Both of them just stopped playing poker. ChatGPT, you're the short stack fighting for survival, and you left value on the table twice. You won the minimum when you needed the maximum. That said, ChatGPT picks up 360 chips and climbs to 2,090, but he's still the lowest stack.
Let's take a break here. The final part of episode 3 will be here soon, so subscribe and hit the bell for the conclusion of the World Series of AI Poker.